Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, March 27th, 2018. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined as always on Tuesdays by Duane Long. Duane, how are you this fine morning?
Oh, tired of rain again. It's raining again. I'm just done, you know.
Well, it's just gray, and it's Ohio. And we've talked about that too much again. Here's what we haven't talked about too much. The herb held court yesterday, and it was very interesting. We learned that Tuf Borland is out with an Achilles injury. And I say we learned, meaning it was announced. We were fortunate to have that information for a while, but had to make sure it was accurate. It does sound like Tuf Borland is out for an extended period of time. Though Meyer said at yesterday's press conference he expected him back this season. Got to be surprised by that, considering it was an Achilles injury. So we are going to assume Tuf Borland is out. That means middle linebacker is up for grabs. In Urban's press conference yesterday, Duane, two spots, middle linebacker and center, actually drew the most questions. Let's first talk about middle linebacker. Tuf Borland is out. We had already discussed middle linebacker in general as, I don't know about a concern, but there were some questions there. At yesterday's press conference, the two players that Urban said are essentially battling it out for that middle linebacker job right now are veteran Justin Hilliard and youngster Baron Browning. When he talked about both, he talked about Hilliard having suffered two bicep injuries since he's been here and being a great special teamer. When he talked about Baron Browning, he said he's one of the most talented players at his position ever to walk through the door. My assumption is Browning is going to be the middle linebacker for the Buckeyes this season. Where do you stand?
Oh, I'm pretty certain of that. I agree with Coach that the kid is just as impressive as Justin Hilliard was coming out of high school. This kid's just another level athletically. Because of a question that a fan raised last week, I went back and watched his high school film again, and I was blown away at just how dominating he was, how fast he was, how instinctive he was, just a super athlete. So I think he's going to win the job. I think Hilliard, 2 straight years of not playing football, that's just too much rust. Now I thought he looked good in the spring game, and he played a little bit after that, but didn't really stand out at all. I just think that it's too much rust. And this kid's fresh and ready to play, and I think he's going to take the job. You know, I think it's really a done deal, and I think he's going to keep it the entire year. I think this Borland stuff that he's going to be back at some time of the year is just ridiculous. Come on, it's an Achilles tendon. That's a year, and even if he can get over the injury in the 6 months that seems to be the timetable they've thrown out there, he's not going to be ready to play football. That may be how long it takes to get over the injury, but he's got to get up to speed again. He's got to get back into practice. He's not going to be ready to play until mid-season. And if Browning is the player I think he is, I just don't think Borland's ever going to get that job back. This is the worst thing that could happen to him as far as being a starter at Ohio State. My concern is overall with the lack of experience. Think about how few reps when Malik Harrison, who is likely going to be the starter on one side, is the most experienced linebacker you got. You're wow. You got a bunch of kids running around out there. Who's going to call the defense? You know, and Keandre Jones probably going to win the other job, even though, we'll see about that because they say Warner's really playing well. But either way, you've got guys that just have not played a lot of football that are going to be out there, and the linebacker was not what we wanted it to be last year. Maybe this will be a good thing. This infusion of new talent, new blood, maybe it'll be a good thing, but the lack of experience is very concerning to me.
I think you're going to have Malik Harrison, Baron Browning, and Keandre Jones out there with Pete Werner as kind of your utility linebacker. That was what I got out of it. The thing about Browning that separates him from Hilliard, He's like 4 inches taller than these guys. Browning reminds me of a young Rolando McClain. Sans the scissor. In terms of ceiling, I'll say this. There's no linebacker they've had in here since in the last decade that's got a higher ceiling than Browning. We will see if he can get all the way up there. All that said, even when Urban was pressed on linebacker, and listen, when we're talking about Urban at a press conference, he could be gerrymandering all of his responses, but we're just kind of going with our vibes here. He seemed much more concerned about center. He mentioned Brady Taylor. He mentioned Matt Burrell. He mentioned Josh Myers. Is your concern level higher at center or middle linebacker?
I'm definitely more concerned about center. I think that we'll find a middle linebacker. I think it's going to be Browning. I think that we're going to be better than we have been the last couple of years at middle linebacker. Center, I mean, you've got a fifth-year guy that's going to be right now penciled in as a starter. That just doesn't happen. You know, we don't see that here. Guy starting for the first time as a fifth-year senior. I mean, come on. I was a big fan of Brady Taylor coming out of high school as a tackle. I thought he could be a really athletic guy, and then he gets kicked down inside, and then he disappears. And now he's surfaced as a starting center. It just doesn't feel right, Dan. It just doesn't. That just doesn't happen here. Fifth-year guys getting their first opportunity to start. So we'll see what happens. There are so many more practices before it's going to matter. I just got a gut feeling he's not going to be the center. If Urban is that concerned, he's going to start shuffling people around. That's what he does. If the three guys he's got snapping the ball right now aren't getting it done, he's going to go get somebody else to do it. So, you know, stay tuned. We could see, who knows, Demetrius Knox, Michael Jordan, we don't know. You've got to have a center. You've got to have a guy that can deliver the ball consistently and then get off on a block. So it's crucial. To me, it is you've got left tackle and center, and you have to have those just solid as they can be. And I would not be surprised if Urban Meyer would agree with me on that and definitely get a guy in there that can execute. It is very concerning.
It's troubling indeed. The other questions we have, I think if you're moving down the concern chart, the other spot they talked about was safety. The question was posed to him if Isaiah Pryor had locked up the other spot. He just said Jordan Fuller was a starter and wouldn't even go into detail on the others. So he even mentioned some freshmen coming in to ballot out. So that's another thing we'll keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on it all day. Keep it locked in here, Bucknutters. Have a good one.